What if Trump tried to jail Representative Jasmine Crockett for asking tough questions, and she ended up turning the whole country against him overnight? That news hit hard on a quiet Tuesday morning. Trump told the legal bureau to go after Representative Jasmine Crockett, not because she was dishonest, took payoffs, or even did anything illegal. He said her loud disagreement with how he was running things was a threat to national security. Everyone in DC seemed shocked. Reporters scrambled, commentators rushed to TV studios, and regular folks at home wondered if they were seeing how far a leader would go to silence someone who criticized them. Jasmine Crockett wasn't just another voice in Congress. She was strong, brave, and direct. Her speeches had already made waves, calling out hypocrisy and refusing to be silenced. So when Trump targeted her, it felt like a war on dissent itself. The timing seemed suspicious. Just a week before, Crockett had grilled a government official on TV about missing public money tied to a controversial border project. Her questions were sharp, her attitude firm, and her refusal to back down had embarrassed the administration in front of many viewers. And now here was Trump trying to paint her questions as acts of sabotage. Back in her Texas office, Jasmine stared at her phone as the news broke. "They're really doing it," she said, looking at the statement from the White House press office. "Yep," replied her chief of staff, Marcus Hill, sounding stressed. They're calling it an assessment of hostile language that weakens national stability. They're making it sound like you're some kind of foreign agent." Jasmine sighed, leaning back in her chair. "National stability," she repeated, almost laughing. "Since when did asking where taxpayer money went become a national threat?" Her press secretary, Kiara Lane, spoke up. "We can't let them control this story. If we don't act fast, they'll make you look dangerous before anyone even hears your side." But Jasmine didn't seem worried. She looked like she was planning her next move. "Let them try," she said. "I'm not scared of a press release." Meanwhile, in DC, Trump was in the Oval Office, surrounded by his inner circle. The TV on the wall showed Crockett's picture next to bold red letters, "Breaking Trump targets Congresswoman. This will send a message," Trump said bluntly. "She wants to shame us. She wants to play games for the cameras. Fine, let's see how tough she is when the legal bureau comes knocking." His legal advisor shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, going this way might cause problems." Trump cut him off. "Problems are good. I want fear. They need to know you can't talk about me like that without consequences." Back in Texas, Jasmine's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, colleagues, even strangers offering support. But the most touching text came from ordinary people, not other politicians. One text was from a retired teacher in the Midwest, another from a parent in the Southwest. The message was the same: "Don't back down. We're with you." That night, Jasmine sat in her living room, the TV off, a draft of a statement open on her laptop. Her husband came in looking concerned. "You know this isn't just politics anymore, right?" he asked. "They're trying to destroy you." She looked up at him, her eyes steady. "Then they're about to find out what happens when you try to destroy the truth." By morning, her mind was made up. She would speak out publicly, not just to defend herself, but to put the president's actions on trial in the court of public opinion. The storm had begun. Trump thought he was flexing his power. Actually, he had just set the stage for one of the biggest political fights in recent memory. But what Jasmine was about to do next would change everything. Next morning, the Capitol was buzzing. News crews camped outside the legal bureau, waiting for any hint of what was going on. Gossip flew around. Was the president really going after a sitting congresswoman for messing with national security? Or was this just another power play to scare people into shutting up? Jasmine Crockett couldn't wait to see what happened. She knew that stalling was a bad idea. If she didn't get her story out there fast, Trump's people would spin it for her. And once they started talking, with the angry words, chaos, and danger stuff, it would stick in the minds of people who didn't know her or the facts. So by 9 a.m., Crockett's team was crammed into her Texas office, turning the place into a war room. Reporters were already outside, mics in hand, shouting questions through the windows. Inside, Kiara Lane put her laptop on the table. "Every news outlet wants you on today," she said, scrolling through the request. "CNN, MSNBC, even Fox, they all want to hear from you." Jasmine looked up from her notes. "Not yet. If I go on now, it'll just look like I'm reacting to him. I want to seem like I'm in charge, not just defending myself." Her top aide, Marcus Hill, smacked the table, stressed. "Then we need to put out something sharp, clear, and truthful. No rambling, just cut straight through the line." Jasmine agreed, "And I want it to be more than just defense. I want people to to see that this isn't just about me. If they can come after me, they can come after anyone who questions them. Across town in the Capitol, Trump's statement was being twisted by his allies as a vital thing to do to protect the country. Regular news anchors repeated the line that Crockett's words were helping enemies overseas, while White House Press Secretary Linda Rowland showed up on morning shows painting the move as a careful response to irresponsible behavior. But not everyone in Trump's camp was sure about it. Behind closed doors, Republican lawmakers grumbled about how risky it was to set such a precedent. One even whispered to a colleague in the Capitol hallway, "Today it's Crockett, tomorrow it could be one of us." Meanwhile, Jasmine was carefully crafting her message. By late morning, she stood in front of a mirror practicing. Her husband stood nearby, arms crossed, watching every word. "Say it like you mean it," he urged. She repeated the line. "Criticism isn't chaos. Accountability isn't betrayal." She stopped, shaking her head. "Too formal." He grinned. "Not if you say it like you just did. People will feel it." By noon, Jasmine was ready. Her team told the media she would give a statement at 2 in the afternoon outside her Texas office. When the time came, the street outside was packed with cameras, supporters holding signs, and reporters fighting for space. The southern heat was intense, sweat glistening on foreheads as Jasmine walked to the podium in a simple dark blazer. The crowd went silent. Her voice was firm. "Yesterday, the President of the United States accused me of being a danger to national security. Not because I broke a law, not because I betrayed this country, but because I asked questions about where your tax dollars are going. Questions about accountability from those in power." Murmurs from the crowd grew louder. Cameras flashed. "I want to be clear," she went on. "Asking tough questions of the government isn't a crime. It's my job. It's the job of every elected official. And if this administration thinks it can silence one voice by threatening accusation, then every citizen should ask themselves, who's next?" Her words were sharp and unwavering. She didn't read from the paper anymore. She spoke straight to the people in front of her, her voice rising and falling with conviction. "What they call chaos, I call accountability. What they call irresponsible, I call duty. And what they call a danger, I call the truth." The applause exploded before she even finished. Supporters cheered, reporters shouted questions, and soon clips of her speech went viral. On social media, hashtags like "Support Crockett" and "Facts Not Betrayal" started trending nationwide. But as Jasmine gained momentum, the White House scrambled. Trump, watching the coverage from the Oval Office, fumed as he saw channels playing her words over and over. "She's showing off," he snapped. "We need to hit back harder." His aides shifted uncomfortably. One of them, a political advisor who rarely spoke up, finally whispered, "Sir, it already looks like you're trying to punish her for asking questions. That's not going over well." Trump's glare silenced the room. "Then we'll make it go over well." But even as he said it, his grip on the narrative was slipping. Jasmine had lit the match and the fire was already spreading. But the real explosion would come just hours later when she faced the press again. Not with a short statement, but with a scorching press conference that would shake the Capitol to its core. By late afternoon, everyone in DC and Texas was watching Jasmine Crockett. Her short statement earlier had punch, but it was just the start. Her team was planning a big media thing, totally open. No scripts, no dodging questions, no fear. Inside her Texas office, you could feel the energy. Gadgets buzzed, assistants rushed around, and printers spit out briefing paper. Jasmine stood calmly at the head of the conference table, scrolling through updates on her phone. Every news outlet seemed to be running some form of the same headline. Trump accuses Crockett of threatening national security. Kiara Lane, her PR manager, stood at the whiteboard, jotting down key points. "We have to make this about more than just you being attacked," she said, marker squeaking. "It's about the system, how government works. You're just the target today." Marcus Hill leaned forward. "We need to be ready for the Justice Department to drop some kind of review or initial investigation. Make it look official." Jasmine looked up. "Let them. If they try to make me an example, I'll be the opposite example. Every time they smear me, I'll yell the truth louder." The room went quiet for a second. Her team knew she was taking a risk, speaking out so strongly against a sitting president who loved to hit back. This could blow up bigger than just politics. But they also knew this was Jasmine to her core. She never backed down, whether it was some small town courtroom fight back in the day or this right now. Her husband, who'd slipped in unnoticed and was leaning against the doorframe, spoke up. "If you do this," he said softly, "there's no going back. They'll throw everything they have at you." Jasmine looked him straight in the eye. "Good. Means they're scared." At 6 p.m., the office parking lot was a media circus. Broadcast vans lined. The street cable snaked across the pavement, and reporters fought for space in front of the podium. A crowd of supporters pressed against the barriers, holding up handmade signs. "Truth isn't treason. We stand with Jasmine, and accountability matters." As Jasmine walked outside, the cheers almost drowned drowned out the reporter's question. She adjusted. The mic took a breath and looked straight into the camera. "Good evening," she began. "Thank you all for being here. I know you've heard the president's accusations, and I want to speak directly to the American people tonight." She paused, letting the moment sink in. "This isn't about me. It's about the dangerous idea that disagreeing with the government can be treated as a crime. If asking tough questions makes me a threat, then every citizen who's ever wanted answers is guilty too." Reporters scribbled, cameras clicked. She went on, her voice strong but building with each word. "I swore an oath to defend the Constitution. That oath doesn't say protect the president's ego. It says protect the people's right to know. And when billions of your tax dollars vanish into projects with zero accountability, I will ask questions. When officials dodge responsibility, I will push harder. That's not disruption. That's my job." The crowd erupted in applause, but Jasmine raised her hand to quiet them. "I understand the risk of standing here tonight. I know what happens to people who challenge power, but I will not be silenced, and I will not let anyone, no matter how powerful, rewrite the rules of government." A reporter from a big network shouted, "Senator, are you afraid the Justice Department might actually file charges?" Jasmine leaned into the mic. "Afraid? No. Concerned? Sure. But here's what I know. The truth is a stronger defense than any charge they can invent. And if this administration wants to test that in court, let's go to court. I'll show them that accountability is not a crime." The word spread like wildfire. Within minutes, clips of her speech were all over the news. Talking heads debated whether the president had made a mistake. Legal experts warned that using the Justice Department against a sitting senator was a constitutional crisis in the making. Inside the Oval Office, Trump watched the coverage, jaw tight. "She's grandstanding," he muttered, but there was a flicker of doubt in his eyes. His advisors shifted nervously, knowing the story was slipping from their grasp. But Jasmine wasn't done. She took more questions, staying cool under the glare of the cameras. Asked what message she wanted people to take away. She ended with words that would define the night. "Power without checks is dangerous. Truth unspoken is deadly. We can't afford either." The crowd roared its approval. Reporters scrambled to get her every word out. By the time she got back to her office, she knew things had shifted. Trump had tried to put her on the defensive. Instead, she'd gone on the offensive, and the whole country was watching. The fallout from this moment was just beginning, and soon things would blow up bigger than anyone expected. The media didn't just report the news, it shaped the whole story. By morning, clips of Jasmine Crockett's speech were all over the main channels, her catchy lines next to Trump's old complaints. TV hosts leaned in, raising eyebrows as they talked about what she said. On a left-leaning channel, a law professor called her defense one of the clearest slams against presidential overreach in ages. On a neutral channel, a panel wondered if Trump's move was a planned distraction or just a quick attack on someone who insulted him. But the online buzz really set the stage. Hashtags like support Crockett and facts not betrayal shot to the top of the trending charts, with lots of people sharing videos of her saying power without checks is dangerous, facts unspoken are deadly. Parts of that line got turned into short video edits shared on social media and reposted by influencers with tons of followers. By sunrise, Jasmine's words were more than a statement. They were a rallying cry. Back at the White House, things were tense. Trump paced behind his desk, screens flashing images of Crockett at the podium. "Look at this," he snapped at his team. "They're turning her into a hero. She's a liar, and they're buying it." Linda Rawlins, the press secretary, carefully put her notepad on the desk. "Sir, the more we attack her directly, the stronger she looks. Maybe we should switch gears. Frame this as a matter of national unity, not about her personally." Trump cut her off with a wave. "No switch, no backing down. She made me look weak, and I don't do weak. If she wants a fight, she's got one." A consultant standing by the fireplace leaned forward. "But sir, even some Republicans are worried. They don't like the idea of going after a sitting congresswoman for what she said. It looks like censorship." Trump turned around, pointing a finger. "Let them worry. They'll fall in line when it counts. They always do." The room went silent. Everyone knew better than to argue when he got like that. Still, the unease lingered. Meanwhile, Jasmine was holding her ground. By noon, she was on a morning show, looking calm and speaking deliberately. "When I spoke out yesterday," she said, "I wasn't just defending myself. I was defending every citizen who has the right to speak truth to power. The president can disagree with me, but he can't punish disagreement. That's not how government works." The interviewer leaned in. "Do you think this is an abuse of presidential power?" Jasmine didn't hesitate. "Yes, and history will see it that way." The clip spread fast. By afternoon, legal experts from across the spectrum were weighing in. A conservative judge from the South told a right-leaning channel, "I may not agree with her politics, but punishing someone for speaking their mind is unconstitutional. Plain and simple." That unexpected unexpected support got attention, giving Jasmine's supporters even more ammo. Her Texas office became a hub of activity. Volunteers answered phones non-stop as messages of support poured in from around the country. Emails flooded in, some from people who said they'd never even heard of her before. "You're speaking for all of us," one message said. At the same time, Jasmine knew she had to keep the momentum going. Sitting with her team, she laid out the next steps. "We don't just react," she said. "We build rallies, town halls, online engagement. If he wants to make this about me, then fine. I'll make it about every citizen who's ever been told to shut up and sit down." Kiara typed on her laptop. "We can set up a live stream tonight. Not just a speech, but a chance for people to talk to you directly. Let them see you unfiltered." Jasmine grinned. "Perfect. Let's make this a conversation, not a lecture." As night fell, Jasmine went live from her office, answering questions from people across the country. One came from a factory worker in the Great Lakes region. "Congresswoman, aren't you scared they'll come after you even harder?" Jasmine looked straight into the camera. "Of course I know they will, but I'm not here to live without fear. I'm here to live with purpose. And right now that purpose is making sure nobody can use power to silence the facts." The live stream drew hundreds of thousands of viewers, way more than her team expected. Comment sections filled with words of encouragement. Donations poured into her campaign site, and the national conversation tilted even more in her favor. Back in the White House, Trump slammed his remote on the desk as he watched the coverage. "She's everywhere, everywhere." His top strategist finally spoke up. "Sir, you may have underestimated her." Trump shot him a look, but the words hung in the air. For the first time, the thought crept in. This fight might not be the show of strength he'd imagined, but the real test wasn't media coverage. It was the growing worry among Trump's own allies, who were starting to feel the heat from their voters. By the third day, it wasn't just a story. It was the story. The showdown between Trump and Jasmine Crockett was everywhere. TV, morning shows, chats online. You couldn't miss it. "This isn't just politics," one anchor said. "It's a huge moment. Can the president use federal power to scare a congresswoman?" The reactions were split. Conservative channels echoed the White House, calling Crockett irresponsible, but even they had doubts. One ex-judge told a host, "I disagree with her politics, but you can't jail people for asking questions." The clip went viral, sparking tons of debate. Jasmine's fiery quotes blew up online. Influencers used them in videos. On social media, teachers, pastors, and community leaders shared her press conference saying, "This is why accountability matters." She was known nationwide. In Texas, Jasmine's HQ was like a war room. Staff tracked trending topics, and the phones never stopped. Kiara waded through email. Teachers in the plains are sending thank you notes. A group of vets in the desert wants to throw a party, and donations are through the roof. Marcus looked up from his laptop. "How much?" Kiara raised her eyebrows. "Over $1 million in 2 days. Small donation, $10 here, 20 there." People are pumped. Jasmine leaned against the table. "Great, but this can't be about money. It's about the people." That afternoon, she spoke at a packed town hall. People held up their phones to record her speech. When she walked on stage, the place erupted. "I didn't start this fight," she said, holding the mic, "but I won't back down. If they silence one of us, they silence all of us. And I don't want to live in a country where asking questions is seen as treason." The crowd went wild. A retired nurse shouted, "We're with you, Jasmine." The clip spread fast, racking up millions of views. Back in DC, Trump's allies were getting nervous. Voters flooded lawmakers with calls wanting to know why the president was attacking a congresswoman. The numbers didn't look good for the White House. One lawmaker from the Southwest told a colleague, "This isn't playing well back home. People see it as bullying." Another added, "He's pushing us into a corner. Either we back him and look like dictators, or we break with him and face his wrath." In the Oval Office, Trump was still fuming. Aides showed him polls showing his approval dropping, especially with independents. He waved them off. "Beg fake polls. I don't care. It's about strength. People respect strength." But his advisors exchanged worried looks. There's a fine line here. And right now, people saw Jasmine, not Trump, as the strong one. That night, a network aired an interview with Jasmine. The host asked, "Congresswoman, has this fight become bigger than you?" Jasmine looked straight at the camera. "It has to be. This is about the idea that no one should be afraid to hold leaders responsible. If we lose that, we lose everything." The clip dominated online chats. Even small town papers that usually ignored politics ran stories like Crockett fights back against Trump, or locals say truth isn't treason. It wasn't just news anymore. It was a movement. Trump still had the power, but he'd lost the narrative. As Jasmine's star rose, cracks formed in the executive mansion, and Trump's closest allies started wondering how far they go. The White House was no stranger to fights, but this one felt different. By the end of the week, everyone knew Jasmine Crockett's name, and the story wasn't going the way Trump wanted. Instead of looking like a protector, he seemed like he was trying to silence someone inside the West. wing you could cut the tension with a knife. Staffers rushed around, clutching papers and whispering. The usual confidence of Trump's inner circle was replaced by worry. In a strategy session, top advisors met ASAP. Linda Rawlins, the press secretary, spoke first. We can't keep attacking her directly. Every time we do, it blows up in our faces. She's not backing down. She's getting bigger. Trump, at the head of the table, crossed his arms, his face red. So we just let her say whatever she wants. She called me out in front of the whole country. She embarrassed me. Nobody embarrasses me without paying for it. A strategist fidgeted. Sir, some of our friends in Congress are worried. Voters are calling nonstop, and they don't want to defend what looks like a political hit job. Trump slammed his hand on the table. Weak. They wouldn't last a day in my shoes. You think past presidents cared what people said? You think that he stopped himself, almost mentioning a name, then sneered. Never mind. The point is, we don't back down. But even as he said it, cracks were showing. Some lawmakers had already publicly called the move troubling. Pundits who usually toed the line were writing pieces warning about a dangerous precedent. And behind closed doors, GOP operatives were talking about a self-inflicted wound. Meanwhile, Jasmine was at a rally in the South planned months ago for local supporters. Instead of a small event, it exploded into a show of support. Thousands packed a community center, waving signs and chanting her name. Backstage, Jasmine listened to the roar. Marcus leaned in, barely audible. This isn't just about your district anymore. You're a national figure, Jasmine. She shook her head, half smiling. Funny, I didn't ask for this, but maybe this fight chose me. When she walked out, the crowd went wild. We support Jasmine. Now we support Jasmine. She raised her hand and the chants died down. I'm here tonight, not as someone under attack, but as someone fighting back. When the president tried to paint me as a villain for asking questions, he didn't just attack me. He attacked every citizen who's ever stood up and said, we deserve answers. Her words echoed through the hall, went viral online, and by morning, major news outlets were running photos of the rally with headlines like Crockett draws thousands amid fight with Trump. Back in DC, those headlines stung. In a late night meeting, Trump's chief of staff tried to be real with him. Sir, this isn't going away. Every day we keep this up, it makes her stronger. Maybe the best move is to dial it down. Trump's glare was icy. Dial it down? That's surrender, and I don't surrender. Trump cut him off. No excuses. She wanted to play with the big boys, and now she'll see what happens. After the meeting, advisors lingered in the hallway. One turned to another and whispered, he's digging in, and if we go down with him, we'll be sorry. Even within the GOP grumbling group, a big donor privately told reporters, this fight makes no sense. It's political suicide. Crockett's not losing. Support. She's gaining it. At the same time, law enforcement officials at the DOJ were quietly getting nervous. One career prosecutor, speaking anonymously, admitted, we're being asked to build a case where there's no crime. This is about politics, not the law. That single statement was picked up by news outlets across the country, making the storm even bigger. For Jasmine, every update, every leak was proof that things were changing. Sitting in a hotel room down south with her team, she watched the news about the latest leaks. They're cracking, she said softly. Kiara agreed. They can't keep this up. You've got them on defense. Jasmine leaned back, thoughtful. Then we keep pushing. We don't stop until it's clear this fight isn't about me. It's about what kind of country we want to be. The White House, once so sure it could control the narrative, now looked cornered. And while Trump still had the powers of the presidency at his fingertips, it was clear that public opinion wasn't on his side, and his allies were starting to bail. But Jasmine's rise wasn't just about weakening Trump. It was about building a movement, and soon her momentum would take on a life of its own. Image in politics, speed builds up. It sneaks up on you until it feels like nothing can stop it. After a week or two of the standoff, Jasmine Crockett, who was pretty new to the scene, became super famous across the country. What started as a government attack turned into a national movement led by regular folks, not people in charge in the Capitol. All over the place, gatherings popped up fast. In one city out west, college kids marched downtown with signs that said, facts aren't betrayal. Up north, some veterans met on the courthouse steps, repeating Jasmine's words from a press event. Power without checks is dangerous. Unspoken facts are deadly. Even in small towns, people met up to watch her speeches and talk about what her fight meant to them. Back in Texas, Jasmine's office became the center of everything. Everyday people volunteered, filled out forms, answered calls, and ran her social page. Media. The chill area was now full of chatter from teachers, truck drivers, students, and older people who all felt like they were part of something big. One afternoon, Marcus walked in with a stack of stuff. You won't believe this, he said, dropping the papers on her desk. Over 200 local events have started in the last 2 days, and we didn't plan any of them. People are doing this on their own. Jasmine looked through the pages, confused. That's amazing, she said. It means they're not just supporting me, they're taking control of this whole Don't think. Kiara walked in holding her phone, and the numbers show it. Donations are going up even faster. But it's not just cash. People are writing that they feel heard and that someone is sticking up for them. That night, Jasmine showed up at a rally in a southern city. The place was packed with thousands of people waving signs and shouting her name before she even got on stage. It was hot, but no one cared. When she got to the microphone, the clapping went on forever. She raised her hand, waiting for it to quiet down. I didn't ask to be the face of this fight, she started, her voice strong. But I'll take it because this isn't just about me. It's about everyone. It's about teachers who want to know how schools get their money. It's about workers who want to know where their taxes go. It's about anyone who thinks saying what's true shouldn't be a crime. The crowd cheered. She leaned in, her voice softer now, more personal. Some folks in charge want us to think being quiet keeps us safe, but being quiet is the most dangerous thing of all. When you stop asking questions, when you stop wanting answers, that's when democracy dies. The crowd went wild again, chanting, "We support Jasmine! We support Jasmine!" Clips from the rally went viral overnight. One young woman in the Midwest posted a video of herself crying as she watched Jasmine's speech, saying, "This is the first time I've felt like someone in Washington is talking straight to me." A truck driver in the Northeast filmed himself pulling over to replay her words. Millions of people shared their reaction and connected Jasmine's fight to their own lives. Meanwhile, inside the White House, Trump was angry. He sat with his advisors watching clips of Jasmine's rally. "Look at this," he said, pointing at the screen. "She's acting like she's the people's hero. It's all fake. It's just an act." One advisor tried to speak up. "Sir, with all due respect, this isn't going away. Her message is getting through, and the more we push back, the more popular she gets." Trump leaned forward, his voice sharp. "Then we push back harder. We dig up something, anything we can use against her." But even as Trump planned his next move, it was clear that the fight had grown beyond his control. Jasmine wasn't just defending herself anymore. She was becoming a symbol that ordinary people could fight back when they're pushed too far. That idea gave her a new kind of strength. Later that night, Jasmine sat in her hotel room after the rally, still wearing her jacket and shoes, watching videos of the crowd chanting her name. She turned to Marcus, who was packing up papers for the next day. "They tried to shut me up," she said quietly. "Instead, they gave me a microphone." Marcus smiled. "And now the whole country is listening. But movements come with a price, and soon Trump's need to take down Jasmine would lead him to make choices that even his closest allies would start to question. Jasmine's rise was like a rocket, but Trump's reaction? A total mess. Loud and all over the place, but with no real aim. After a week, he was past frustrated straight to furious. The daily meetings became all about Crockett instead of strategy. Every good thing anyone said about her, every TV spot, every ranking, just seemed to eat at him. "Why is she still everywhere?" Trump yelled one morning, knocking papers off his desk. "We went after her. Where's the legal bureau? What are they even doing?" His legal guy squirmed. "Sir, we looked. There's no case. Trying to charge her for what she says would fall apart in court. Just the optics alone." "I don't care about optics," Trump snapped, pointing. "I care about winning. She's making me look bad in front of the whole country. You can't let that happen." The room went quiet. Aides traded worried glances. They'd seen Trump mad before, but this felt different, more desperate, like he was cornered. Later that day, Trump went on a posting spree. "Crockett is dangerous, hates America, a threat to everything." The posts came one after another, each one more extreme. His fans ate it up, but so did his haters, who said he was just showing weakness. The news went wild. One anchor read Trump's posts on air, then smirked. "He's losing it. Every time he attacks, Crockett looks stronger." A commentator on a left-leaning channel put it bluntly, "She's running rings around him." But the cracks were starting to show in Trump's own camp. At a fundraiser, one Republican lawmaker told a donor, "He's making this worse. We could have ignored her, let it die down. Now she's a star." The donor nodded. People are starting to think he's scared of her. Meanwhile, Jasmine wouldn't let Trump control the narrative. At a town hall in the South, standing under the bright lights with a microphone, she addressed his post head on. "The leader can post all he wants. Call me names, shout into the void. But here's the thing, the country doesn't run on post. It runs on responsibility. And no amount of name calling changes that." The crowd went nuts chanting her name. The cameras caught it all. And that night, it was everywhere. Backstage, Trump's people were scrambling. One senior aide pulled Linda Rawlins aside. "This is going off the rails. The president's attacks aren't working. Every time he swings, she scores." Rawlins sighed, "I've told him, but he won't listen. He thinks doubling down is tough." Another aide muttered, tough. Looks like fear to me. But Trump wasn't listening. Instead, he told the legal bureau to investigate Crockett's money, hoping to find something. When that got out, it blew up in his face. Legal experts said it was a clear abuse of power, and even some Republicans publicly backed away. On the evening news, a veteran reporter said it straight. The president's attempts to smear legislator Crockett have only made her stronger. What started as a fight between two people is now a fight for the soul of America. That night, Jasmine did a TV interview with supporters. Someone asked, "How do you stay calm when the most powerful man in the world is coming after you?" Jasmine smiled into the camera. It doesn't need to shout. It just needs to stand strong. He can throw all the punches he wants. I'll still be here, speaking for the people who deserve answers. Her words resonated. Clips of the interview spread like wildfire, painting her as a steady guide in the middle of chaos. Back in the executive chamber, Trump sat silently as aides played clips of Jasmine's broadcast. His jaw tightened, his knuckles white as he gripped the chair. "She thinks this is over," he muttered. "It's not over, not even close." But deep down, even his loyal people could see the country. This wasn't about to die. It was becoming Trump's own mess. But the real change would happen when the legal bureau, stuck in the middle, started saying they couldn't be used as a weapon anymore. For days, the legal bureau was stuck between a rock and a hard place. The leader wanted them to go after Jasmine Crockett, but the lawyers there knew charging a lawmaker for what she said wouldn't hold up in court and would trash the bureau's name. Back at headquarters, you could hear whispers of people pushing back. Lawyers met in secret, talking quietly, feeling both responsible and scared. One senior person said it straight up in a private meeting: "We're not building a case. We're destroying the rule book." The word got out fast. A news site broke the story. Legal bureau pushes back against executive mansion pressure. Other news places confirmed it soon after. The stories made it sound like the bureau was split between being loyal to the leader and doing what's right. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers jumped on it. A group of them sent a letter to the legal chief asking what was going on. One Republican from the Midwest even said, "If we're putting people in prison for speaking up, then we've lost what we're all about." That quote went everywhere and made even more cracks in the leader's wall against Crockett. Meanwhile, Jasmine stayed focused. In Texas, she talked with community leaders in a small neighborhood center. She leaned in, really listening as pastor. Teachers and business owners talked about what her situation meant to them. One teacher said, "When you talk, we hear ourselves. When he attacks you, he's attacking us. That's why people are sticking with this." Jasmine agreed. "That's why I'm sticking with it too. It's not just about me. It's about keeping the system working. If we can't question authority, we lose everything." That message hit home. The next day, newspapers were saying the fight was a test for American democracy. One paper out west ran a story called "The Crockett Situation," when disagreement becomes a crime. Even news from other countries covered it, saying it was a big deal if a leader tried to make disagreeing illegal. Back at the executive mansion, things were getting tense. The leader's main aide, looking tired and stressed, begged him to give up. "Sir, the legal bureau is fighting us. The media is saying this is a disaster, and our people on the Hill are backing down. We're stuck." The leader leaned over the desk, eyes blazing. "I don't care what they say. If the legal bureau won't help, we'll find another way. She can't keep embarrassing me." But his support was falling apart. Some lawmakers who always had his back were now saying things like, "We need to be careful and we need to respect democracy." Some Republican strategists told donors that this was becoming a problem. At the same time, Jasmine's popularity was taking off. Polls showed her approval numbers going up, not just where she lived, but all over the country. People were even talking about her as a possible leader for the whole country, someone who could stay calm and strong during tough times. Her team saw it too. One night, Kiara looked up from her laptop and said, "They tried to bury you, Jasmine, but it backfired. Now you're an emblem." Jasmine sat quietly for a moment, looking at the numbers. Then she said, "If this is what I'm supposed to do, then I'll stand all the way." The legal bureau leaks kept coming. One news channel quoted lawyers saying they felt like they were being used. The anchor said this could be when things change. Not for Crockett, who is doing great, but for a leader who is losing control. By the end of the week, the legal chief made a rare public statement. The Bureau of Law isn't a tool for the government, and we don't do criticism. It was about as close to criticizing the leader as you could get. People reacted fast. Jasmine's supporters celebrated. Lawmakers clapped carefully, and news headlines said legal bureau pushes back against Trump. For Jasmine, it was a win. For the leader, it was embarrassing because the weapon he tried to use against her broke. in his face. But even though the legal bureau's resistance was a big deal, the real triumph was what happened next. How Jasmine would use this moment to teach everyone a lesson, not just for herself, but for the whole country. Things really changed when the Bureau of Law stood up to Trump. What started as a fight between him and one representative turned into a national issue, and Jasmine Crockett was right in the middle, stronger than ever. The day after the Bureau's statement, Jasmine spoke at the legislative building. Her team called it a victory speech. There were cameras everywhere, reporters pushing each other, and fans holding up signs. She wasn't bragging, just speaking calmly and firmly. Over the past 2 weeks, she said, her voice loud and clear, we've been tested. We've had to ask ourselves if power can silence the truth, if disagreement can be seen as an offense. And today, I'm here to tell you clearly, no, we won't be silenced and we won't let fear win. She paused to let her words sink in. The Bureau of Law showed what we already knew. Leaders can't punish people who oppose them. This isn't just a win for me. It's a win for every teacher who wants better school, every worker who asks where their money is going, and every person who won't accept lies from our government. The crowd cheered loudly. Jasmine raised her hand to quiet them down. But let's be real. This isn't about one person. It's about a choice we make every day. Do we give in to fear, or do we demand accountability? Do we let lies control things, or do we keep telling the truth even when it's hard? People across the country were glued to their screen. Her words weren't fancy. They were simple, direct, and honest. An older woman in the Midwest said to her grandchild, she's saying what we all feel. A factory worker at his kitchen table in the Midwest nodded, hearing his own feelings in her words. In the executive mansion, Trump watched the speech on a silent TV, his face blank. His advisors avoided looking at him. The man who used to control everything was now watching the story slip away. Back at the legislative building, Jasmine finished her speech with the same strength she had shown the whole time. Now, this shows one thing. Power doesn't last, but principles do. Leaders come and go, but the truth always comes out. And if anyone thinks their voice doesn't matter, remember this moment. One voice standing strong can move a nation. The crowd erupted again, chanting, "True, true, true." Reporters wrote quickly, cameras zoomed in, and by the evening news, the image of Jasmine standing tall at the legislative building was everywhere. In the days that followed, even people who disagreed with her admitted she had won. Commentators praised her toughness. Lawmakers on the other side admitted she had struck a blow against unchecked power. Her approval rating went way up. For Trump, trying to destroy Jasmine Crockett had backfired. His allies started to distance themselves. The story he had tried to control was now out of his hands, and you could see his frustration whenever he watched her speeches on TV. But Jasmine didn't brag. Instead, she used the situation to remind people what was at stake. On a Sunday morning show, she said, this was never about one man and one woman. It was about what kind of country we want to be. And the lesson is simple. Never let fear silence you. Speak the truth, even when people in charge try to stop you. Her words resonated everywhere. They became the moral of the story. That courage in the face of fear protects not just the individual, but the freedom of our society. As this chapter closed, Jasmine Crockett's story wasn't just about survival. It was about strength, principle, and the reminder that power, when challenged, can be forced to back down. And that's something everyone should remember. When the truth is threatened, silence is not an option. If you believe in standing up for the truth, if you believe in leaders who value principles over power, then support people like Jasmine. Share their stories and keep the conversation going, because our country depends on people like you who refuse to stay silent. The fight for truth isn't over, but together we can make sure it's never silent.